Okay, Will Riley is on Illinois, and that is needle moving. So people tell me. Big time commitment over the weekend. We had some people be like, "How'd you guys get that up so quick? Isn't Greg on vacation? Where's Cart?" And the answer was we pre-recorded that because we knew that this was happening because everybody knew this was happening. Anyways, ILL, INI, all that. We've had a couple days to let this sink in, and it's time to do a little bit of a Big Ten reset, Cart, because Purdue and Indiana have been the presumed top two in this league for next year, in whatever order you want to put those two in. But I think everyone has sort of agreed, Illinois fans included, those are the two best rosters on paper coming into next season until Illinois gets their big fish. Illinois got Will Riley, their big fish. Now we need to talk about where do they fall. Do they belong in the same tier as Purdue and Indiana?
I think so. I think they do just because of talent. I think the thing that holds folks back from maybe being all the way in on Illinois is maybe necessarily seeing how all the pieces fit and if they will work together. Because that's one thing that people I think sometimes take for granted that, last year's Illinois team fit extremely well. Like Shannon and Damas worked so well together. It worked well because they had other guys like Coleman and Guerrier as well to kind of complement them. And then the point guard duties were shared. But I feel like the fit last year on the team was really good. This year's team, you could probably make an argument just like top to bottom, more talent. And I would agree with that. Top to bottom, going all through every guy on the roster, probably one of the more talented teams that they've had. But with that talent comes having to figure out how they fit. Do the guys work together and things like that, which I have faith that Brad can do. If there is a coach in the Big Ten that can do it or a coach in the country that can do it, I think Brad Underwood is one that can pull the strings. But when you talk about like talented teams in the Big Ten, it is Indiana, it's Purdue, and I would put Illinois in that fold now.
Where in that fold? Like if we're doing tiers, are we defining the top tier as quote unquote contenders and there's three teams in it? Because you've alluded to like maybe it's even broader, like maybe UCLA belongs somewhere up there. Who knows? Maybe there's Michigan State, Rutgers is a talented team. Like you can make arguments for a lot of teams. Maybe they'll crack the top, whatever. But like I guess I would have viewed Purdue and Indiana as like the favorites, even if we're saying somebody else could win it. Those teams are like clearly the best on paper, and it would be a surprise if anybody else did it. Is that where Illinois belongs now? Would we call them like a favorite, the same way we would talk about how good Indiana's roster is and how much respect we have for the state of Purdue with Braden Smith and Painter?
So when I make these lists usually or something like that, I usually say like the top four are the quote unquote contenders for the Big Ten. Now last year it was different because Zach Edey was in the fold. Like last year it was Purdue. They deserve their own tier. They deserve their own tier, like in the country speaking. They were one of the best teams in the country. That's why they went to the national championship game, Final Four, all that. This year, I think the gap is a little bit closer because one, there's the exit of Zach Edey, and two, I think there's more talent as far as the other teams being, I think, a little bit more talented than they were the past season. So it's like for me, it would be in this order too. It would be Purdue, Indiana, Illinois, UCLA, and those four teams are in the tier of could win the Big Ten.
Putting UCLA in with Illinois. I mean, and the other two, more importantly, but like you view UCLA's roster as good as Illinois, or you believe in Mick a little? Like what's the play with them being in the top four?
I'm buying Mara bouncing back and not being bad.
Why?
Because I saw too much of him at that whatever tournament or the FIBA tournament to believe he was that bad. Like he was really like we stated many and many times last year. He was so bad last season. I refuse to believe he's actually that bad. Even if he's not as good as people think he should be a serviceable college basketball player. And I think given with what Andrews can do, I think Mac will be better in year two. I think Kobe Johnson will be good. I think there is some talent on that team. And I'm somewhat talking myself into like Mick having just a people forgot about me. Like they're disrespecting me too much type situation, and that pains me to say because I think I sometimes am one of the main people disrespecting Mick. But the little guy might have a mean streak to him.
Do 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 do.
They forgot about Mick.
They forgot about Mick Cart. They forgot about Mick. Yeah, okay. You lose me every time you start one of your big like pro I believe in this player rants with he can't be that bad. Like, yeah, he can be. He could
You
be.
sure?
He
You
was.
sure? You
He was
sure?
last year. He was that bad last year. He shouldn't have been, but he was, right? Like,
But year two, international player bounce.
I don't
Like
know.
I'm buying Burke Buchtenzel stock. I'm buying a Day Mara stock. I'm Jan Bide
I
between
don't
that.
know
Yeah.
if I don't know if multi-year internationals works the same way multi-year transfer does, but maybe. I don't know. Look, I think it's fascinating you bring up UCLA in the context of Illinois in this discussion because everybody in our Illinois Discord tells me, well, this is a 2-year plan. If you look at what Brad has built, if you look at the type of guys he's bringing in, this is a 2-year plan. We have Jeremiah Fears coming in. We're trying to get Jasper Johnson. We have all these guys, young talent. Merez is going to break out in year 2. Kylan Boswell has multiple years. Ty Rogers senior year. DGL has like everybody is playing for year 2 except for I guess Humrickhouse. Like is that the only guy on the roster that's going to immediately be gone? And it's a good plan. It's a great plan. I like the 2-year plan until I remembered the other team that was on a 2-year plan last year was none other than Mick Cronin's UCLA Bruins. And they were one of the worst teams in high major basketball. They were horrendous. They were disgusting. They went 16-17 overall. They had a losing record. Like, it was bad. And coincidentally, they were built around a bunch of freshmen and a bunch of overseas guys. And that's essentially what Brad Underwood has done. Now, I like Illinois' roster better than UCLA's last year, but I've said it a couple times now. I don't think we know what Kasparis is going to be yet. I don't think we know what Tom Ivisic will ever be in college. I think I know what Merez is. He's a stud. He's just young. Will Riley's a stud, but he's young. Is he going to be like Jet Howard good? One and done? Caleb Houston good? One and done? Musa Diabate good? One and done? Because those guys were really good in college. They didn't help the team win at all. Like at all. So it still is going to come down for Illinois to me. It's going to come down to like how good is Kylan? How good is Trey White? How good is Humrickhouse? And if you believe in those guys, then you should love this roster. You also have to give Brad some benefit of the doubt. So that's where I'm at with this. Illinois fans will be mad at me. I still think Indiana is head and shoulders ahead of every other team in this league. Roster-wise, I think their roster is so much more talented than everybody else. And Illinois fans want to do the like, well, let's look at our 12th guy versus their 12th guy. Okay? Like Indiana's 6th man is either Trey Galloway or Cannon Carlisle. That's better than Illinois' 6th man. You want to go down to 7? We can go down to 7. Bryson Tucker was a McDonald's All-American. I would have Merez higher than 7th on Illinois. So I don't think it's a 1-for-1 comp. You want to go to 8? Okay, Luke Goody's 8. The Luke Goody that was in the top 6 for Illinois last year when they were the 2nd best team. So, like, Indiana's ahead of this. You put Purdue in the same tier because of respect for Matt Painter and respect for Braden Smith. And you have to put Illinois 3rd in the tier, but 3rd because of respect for Brad Underwood. All Brad does is win Big Ten games. His team is constantly at the top. This team has reloaded. The Will Riley ad was huge. The Will Riley ad was enough to bring them from that 2nd tier, whatever it was, just a tournament team, into like, oh, they're in the favorites with Indiana and Purdue. You can have your personal preference. I won't hate you if you say you like Illinois more. But to me, Indiana still has the best roster. Purdue has the best player. Illinois might have the deepest team and maybe the best coach.
No UCLA.
No chance, UCLA. What are we doing? And that's also why Illinois has to be 3rd in this group, because you have to acknowledge the fact there is UCLA 2.0 potential. Like I don't think there's a world where Purdue is bad, right? With Braden Smith and Painter, they can't miss the tournament. There is a world where Indiana's bad. There's a world where like Mike Woodson just shits himself. And I think there's definitely a world where like the overseas guys at Illinois are bad. It could happen. I don't want it to, but it could. It would literally be UCLA last year. Like if they're just super young and all the overseas guys aren't ready.
So you're not going against me putting Illinois in that tier. You're going against me putting UCLA up there.
I think it's disgusting that you're putting UCLA in there after last year. Yes. And I
Noted.
also, again, I think it's relevant you bring UCLA up because that is like the downside of how this Illinois roster is built. They're super young. They're international heavy. That's scary.
Yeah, they also got rid of the guys that like I didn't like though. At the same time, like I don't have to watch Will McClendon or like Kenneth Nwuba play anymore, and they replace it with I think good players like Eric Daly's good, Kobe Johnson's good, Sky Clark is good.
Yeah.
I like Dominic Harris as well. Like I think he's actually good. I wanted William Kyle the third. I think he's raw, but I think he's going to be good. Um, I think they did some pretty good things as far as the transfer portal with UCLA. Trent Perry stole him from USC. I think that I don't know. I feel like Nick might have done a little bit of a pivot here after being bitten last season.
Yeah.
And I hate that I hate that I'm even in this position because I refuse to like stake my claim to like I'm a Bruin, but I think they did. I think they've done enough in the transfer portal to get a shout to be in that top four.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I could I could feel good and make an argument about another 4 to 5 teams that could all do what a team is doing in that top four, maybe outside of Indiana and Purdue, and I'd throw Illinois in there as well.
Who would your next ones be?
Oh,
Because I think outside of Illinois, roping off the top three for me, it's like it could be anyone.
yeah. I mean, like no order even. Just Michigan State, I think could be up there. I think Michigan, I think Maryland could be somewhere up there. Even like if Ohio State, if that backcourt works out, like that could be up there. Wouldn't be surprised if TJ Bamba shows me and shuts me up and him and Jackson Shelstad do some things. If guard does a guard thing and John Blackwell, breaks out and Klesmit plays well again and Crowell's still there. There's just a bunch of teams.
Guard does the guard thing?
Yeah, guard like does the thing where like he just like does enough. Like even after slandering them last year, Wisconsin was a 5 seed.
You're right.
And like, yes, they fell off a cliff, but they were still good.
You're right.
So
All right. All right. So where does Illinois finish with Will Riley? You have him third?
yeah, I haven't finished in third.
Okay. All right. Interesting. I think they're third on paper. I think they finish second in the league. Not going to say over who, though.
No, you got us. You can't just say second and not say over.
I get to click end recording. The NBA draft is coming up, and I've got something awesome for you. We are partnering with the people at NBA 2K Lab. NBA 2K is the best video game on earth. The people at 2K Lab are making some awesome stuff to make that game even more fun, and they just launched their 2024 NBA Draft Simulator, where you can find the official Sleepers Media big board. We ranked our top 75 players in this draft class. Me, Carter, Brian Ralph, Riley Davis. We did it together, and it is featured on the 2K Lab NBA Draft Simulator. You can take control of any team in the draft, play GM with just one click, and see our entire rankings before these videos even come out. Check out the link in the description of this video to try out the draft sim for yourself, and you can find more mini games at nba2klab.com/NBA-mini-games.